in the past when we've written end-to-end tests in the browser, and other than the test flake, what we have found is these end-to-end tests are extremely brittle because of CSS, because of the structure of the DOM and your HTML tags and all that stuff. And if you have those end-to-end tests that assume the structure looks a certain way, or if you're using styles that you assume are going to always be there, and some designer comes along and changes things, well, your tests end up breaking. And so do you have any advice, or maybe is there something Cypress does to avoid some of that churn in these end-to-end tests?
Absolutely, Chris. We at Cypress, we put a lot of thought in our documentation, right? We're trying to explain how Cypress commands work in excruciating details. And we also have a bunch of best practices for writing end-to-end tests. And one of the practices is how do you even select the elements that you want to interact from your test? And we say, well, don't use CSS styles because they're used for styling and can change, like you said. Don't use deep nested selectors because that assumes the whole structure will never change. So we advocate for using specific data attributes like data test ID for selecting the element, right? So that its purpose is clear and you don't accidentally change it. You only change it when you want to change it for real. Another thing that is really popular nowadays is a family of libraries called testing library, right? Where they say, don't test the implementation, test the interface, but allows you, for example, you to select elements by label, right? Which is so useful inside the forms, or by ARIA role, right? So where you don't actually depend on the style or the structure, but instead you tie your test to the elements by their role. And that's a lot less brittle.